A Vancouver Canucks prospect that's standing at 6'6", drafted last year in 2023, is impressing management, and he's not talked about enough. And we get an update on Silovs' contract, including experts saying how much exactly he may make on his next deal. We'll get into all that later on this episode. Before I start, I just want to give a shout out to the 3,714 of you guys. I know I say this constantly, but if you guys are enjoying this content and never want to miss another episode, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. We'll be here all off season in the next season, giving you updates from around the Canucks. We're trying to reach our goal of 4,000 by Sunday, so if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to go down and hit that subscribe button. But with that, we'll hop straight into the first topic today, which is Alriksson impresses. Now, Alriksson might not be a name that a lot of Canucks fans know, and this is a name you need to get to know. At 19 years old, drafted last year in 2023, 4th round, 107th overall, Alriksson stands at 6'6", 214 pounds. Now with Alriksson, he is coming out of the Swedish leagues. This is a guy playing his first year, or just concluded his first year, in the OHL with the Gulf Storm, and he's going to be a name that's going to be popping up quite a bit. Now when you do look at Alriksson's stats, he played in the OHL, 67 games played, 17 assists, 17 goals, 16 assists for 33 points. You can pause and look through his international stats, playing in the Junior 20, Junior 18, regionals. You can work your way down, and this guy has been continuing to develop. Now, the biggest thing with Alriksson is he's starting to really impress Canucks management during the development camp, and he's starting to make quite a name for himself. Now, before we get into all that, I do want to just give you the draft guide on what they spoke on Alriksson before being drafted. The 6'6" winger is a capable skater. He finds open space in 3 zones that helps him drive and attack, beating defenders with body fakes off the rust or flashing intriguing shooting skill from in tight. Now with Alriksson, not only is he 6'6", he is a big body. He can skate well, he can beat defenders with body fakes, and he does have a decent shot. Now the first thing I do want to touch on is during development camp, they were speaking on how he needs to work on quite a bit, but they've said how much of an improvement they've seen from his game. The first thing being was people are starting to be afraid of him in the OHL. This is a quote from Alriksson himself. "Before I had a fight, everyone challenged me to a fight," he said with a grin. After that, it wasn't that many. We're watching Alriksson go from the International League, where he was more of a finesse guy, coming in and becoming a prototype PF power forward that's going to be dominant in the OHL again next season, and we're going to see his numbers jump. Like I said, this is a guy coming off 17 goals, 16 assists for 33 points. A lot of scouts and a lot of people within Canucks management were speaking on his development within the OHL, on how he's starting to crash the net more. He's really starting to grow into his frame. Instead of being a finesse guy, he's using his size to his advantage. This is the type of guy that's going to come in and be dominant for the Canucks once he does get up. I'm not going to say he's going to come in and score 30 goals for the Canucks. I know you guys keep saying I'm super optimistic on a lot of prospects, but I'd rather do that than being a Debbie Downer. But with him being 6'6", him using his body, just kind of translating into this North American game, I do see Alriksson getting into the AHL in the next couple of years, maybe carving out a spot in the bottom 6 for the Canucks as a hard checking forward that can still pot goals and skate quite well. But what's your guys' thoughts on Alriksson? Are you excited to watch his next year in the OHL? Or you think I'm just kind of overhyping this guy like I do with every prospect? Let me know down in the comments. But we'll get straight into the second topic, which is Silovs update. Now with Silovs, we do have an update from Patrik Johnson via the province. This was him saying what Patrik Allvin, and this is a quote from Patrik Allvin: "We're very pleased with Silovs and his progress, his play, performance in the playoffs. Discussion is what's best for him and what's best for the Vancouver Canucks. At this point, we're still talking internally, but Silovs is definitely a good candidate to be on the team next year." Obviously, Silovs is a guy that is not signed to a contract yet, and a lot of fans are starting to get worried. I'm going to break down the good and the bad on him not being signed yet. Now, the biggest thing is, obviously, you have Thatcher Demko locked down for the next 2 years. Silovs is an RFA, so no one can outright sign him, but during the S&P podcast, they had Patrik Johnson on this as well. They talk about the possibility of a offer sheet. Now, the biggest thing, don't worry, Canucks fans, we haven't seen an offer sheet in quite some time. Yes, a team can offer them, or Silovs, a $2 million contract. This would cost about a third in compensation. The Canucks can still match it, but with the Canucks only having just over $1 million in available cap space, and with AFP Analytics having him projected to sign a 2-year deal with the annual average value of just over $1 million, this would be hard for the Canucks to match. Yes, they would match the contract if they were offered a deal. Yes, if he was offered a $2 million contract by another team, yes, they will match it, but I think it would cause some problems for the Canucks and their salary cap. Now, when you do look into this, as I said, they do have just over $1 million in cap space. He's projected to sign just a smidge over $1 million on a 2-year deal with $1 million AAV. So with the Canucks, they can match this, but I think they're going to really look into this Tucker Poolman contract, like I talked on yesterday's video. If you haven't checked that out, make sure to check that as well. But with Silovs, this is a guy where I kind of get worried. Yes, he was incredible. He was a guy that came in, shined in the playoffs after not getting much time in the regular season. We've seen Silovs come into the playoffs with an .898 save percentage. He felt like the wall. He felt like the guy that held them in to so many games against Nashville, against the Oilers, ultimately coming up short in Game 7. But the biggest worry with the former 6th-round pick is the fact of experience. When you do look at Silovs' experience in the NHL, if you're just counting the regular season, he has a total of 9 games in the NHL. If you go into the playoffs, he has 10 games into the NHL for a total of 19 total playoff or NHL games. Now, with Silovs having this limited amount of games, yes, you can bring him in. Yes, you take the chance. I'm not saying don't sign Silovs. This is a guy that's going to sign a 1-year contract. This might be at $1 million. This might be at $1.5 million. He will be on the big club next year, but having him as your only backup goalie might be a bit of an issue if we see him falter a bit. Now, the first thing I wanted to point out, obviously, Jiri Patera is the only other Canuck on contract that has NHL experience. I've talked about him before in videos, but he has 8 games in the NHL played with the Vegas Golden Knights. He spent majority of his time last year with the Henderson Silver Knights. So having Silovs, having Jiri Patera signed, I think this does work as a 2-3 combo. But the biggest issue is getting Silovs signed. This is a guy that a lot of reporters have came out and said that his agent has not answered anyone on the contract situation. I'm not here saying no, the Canucks are not going to get a deal done. I think they're most certainly going to get one done. They're still trying to figure out their cap with $1 million over. Obviously, if you give Silovs $1 million on the dot, then you're stuck with about $15,000 in cap space. Yes, you can do it, but you really need to work around the cap. Yes, you can move on from a guy like Tucker Poolman to clear up more space. Yes, you can put him on LTI to clear up more space. But it seems like Canucks management, Patrik Allvin, Jim Rutherford, are waiting to figure out what's happening with this Tucker Poolman deal. If they don't end up moving him, I think Silovs is going to get signed before training camp. But if they do move him, I expect the contract to come immediately. What would you guys' thoughts on the contract situation? What's your thoughts on Silovs' next deal? Do you think it's going to be $1 million, maybe 1.5? Do you think it's going to be a 2-year deal, or do you like to see them take the risk and sign him long term? Let me know down in the comments. But speaking on comments, let's get into everyone's favorite topic, which is comment of the day. Comment of the day comes from Kevin Parker 9932, and they say, thanks for all the updates. Also, cannot wait for the season to begin. I also cannot wait for the season to begin. It feels so far away. The Canucks actually did come out with their next season schedule, obviously a few weeks ago. They're coming out with their preseason schedule. They're coming out with their camp schedule. There's so much coming out around the Canucks. I'm so excited for the season to start. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to go down and leave a comment like Parker did today, you can go down and leave one and be featured on the next episode as comments today. While you're down there, leave a like, share this with your friends, subscribe. We're trying to reach 4,000 by Sunday. So it's completely free and you can go down and hit that subscribe button and never hear me say it again. But that's been it for this episode of Canucks Digest. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a like. I've been your host, Mark. Bye and take care.